Well, hello and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. This is episode 17 now. On the longest day of the year, it's June 20th, 2025, and it's a Friday afternoon. Right now at about 6:30. Beautiful day. It's been pretty warm, about 90 I think, and a few clouds, but very, very nice summer day. Now it's officially summer. And we're going to start off here along the side of our garage where we usually start with our cleome. A couple of these growing up out of the concrete, as you can see. The world's most fertile concrete. And still have our snapdragons doing well. That's the strangest thing about those. They're about the only snapdragons in the yard that are still going, and they were the first ones. So they started earlier and lasted longer, and they're the ones that are growing up out of the cement. Go figure. Cleome doing absolutely great. This is really kind of the high point of the cleome crop, so to speak, for this year. We usually get a lot of them down in here. They're slowly starting to catch up, but in strange areas that we have not usually had a lot of them in the past. So over here, for example, this area usually just has weeds, and there are some weeds in here, but there are a lot of cleome. You can kind of start to see little individual buds on here. So we're going to be getting a lot of color before too long. And then over here, where we usually have a whole cleome forest, we have just a few individual scattered ones, one right there, one there, and a handful of others. So I mean, we're catching up, but it's taking a lot of time. What really has taken over in this particular area this year are these morning glories. I'm not sure why. These just go back to seeds that we put in a few years ago, but they are covering a lot of ground. As the name would suggest, of course, the flowers are only going to be out in the morning, but they're nice. Well, we have a couple different types. We have some light blue and then some that are kind of a mid-colored purple, and very, very nice flowers, very pretty. Also, I skipped past this. I have no idea what this is, but it's probably a weed, but it's getting an interesting little flower on it, so I'm going to let it go and see what happens with this. I am a little bit, well, I won't say concerned, because this is really not a high priority area for a garden, but we had a plant when we lived in Ohio a few years ago called loose strife, and it was one of the most invasive plants I've ever seen, and it just took over. It had flowers that looked like that, so I'm not sure if that's what it is or not. We got another one of them here. We didn't plant these, so I'm not sure what's going to come of them, but I'm just going to wait it out and see what they do. Here, I just noticed this today. This is not good. Got a nice big old poison ivy. Don't want that. I'm going to spray that and kill it off. They just have a way of popping up in the strangest places, and I killed one off in the front yard. But though, talk about invasive, they will take over your yard in short order if you let them. Then you get yourself real problems. And here we have one of our hydrangeas. They're really starting to put out the buds now, so I'm going to say maybe in the next week we're really going to start to get our big white flowers now that summer's here. Also, our yellow knockout rose, not looking so good. It's starting to have some problems with I think Japanese beetles and just parasites in general, but it did well in the spring, so I'm happy with that at least. Let's see what else we've got. A lot of this is spring stuff, so it's kind of finished. We had some Asiatic lilies through here that are all done, and more hydrangeas. We have a total of 4 big hydrangea bushes. They get a little bigger each year. And then, strangely enough, wasn't expecting this, we still have some digitalis left over from the spring. Those have spread out nicely. I think we originally had 6 or 7 plants. Now, even though they're not all in bloom at this point, I think we probably have 12 to 14. So that's kind of cool. There's some more Asiatic lilies in here, getting ready to bloom. A couple zinnias just kind of randomly in here. What else? These are weeds. These need to go. We have a butterfly bush that's getting kind of crowded out, unfortunately. Coleus down here. They don't flower, but they do give us some really nice colored variegated leaves. And then, of course, impatiens. Another butterfly bush here. Now, this one is not crowded out by the hydrangeas, so it's really doing well, getting really tall, putting out a lot of these beautiful purple flowers. What else? More lilies, of course. These beautiful red flowers. This is interesting. It just shows. It's one of the fun things about a garden like this one. I can't really get back there. If you see that purple stalk, that is a butterfly bush. And the only place that we have a butterfly bush like that is in the front. So it has spread somehow via seed. We didn't put anything in there, but we're getting, that'll end up turning into a big bush if it gets enough sun. And that may be saying something because we're kind of in a shady spot here, but even without that, I think they'll do well. Also have our big red knockout rose here. Another thing that has spread unexpectedly from the front are these Monarda. And we'll see more of these, a lot more of these in our front yard video coming up next. But these have spread this year for the first time to the back. Also some calla lilies. These have spread on their own. Beautiful pink. We're going to see a lot more of those in a few minutes elsewhere in the backyard here. And then, of course, daylilies. We've got a lot of different types of daylilies. And these are all doing really well. We're starting to get down to the end, though. It's always kind of a sad time. Some of these plants are already done. And then there are others that are just getting started. That's one really nice thing about daylilies. If you have a bunch of them, a bunch of different types, you get some that start blooming in the very beginning of June, maybe even late May, and then others that will continue into July. But this one is just about finished, as you can see. This one is close to being finished. So we just find ourselves going, kind of slowly progressing through the growing season. The first of our big azaleas here. We have 6 of them. They bloom in the spring and the fall. Not really much to see now other than greenery. More daylilies here, these lemon yellow ones. They're just about finished. This might be the last week we see those. And then these beautiful ones with the ruffles. The stilby are finished up now. Had 4 different colors of astilbe. And then, what else do we have? The hostas, they've already done blooming. Wisteria back there in the woods. And black-eyed Susans. They look like weeds in this area, but they're that's what we've got here. And it looks like our lawn guy came in and chopped some of these down today because these were doing a lot better. Yeah, I think he came through here and chopped those down. So that was not ideal. It's not the way I would have preferred for that to go. But sometimes it's hard to tell what's a weed and what is doing well. Now, one thing I want to show off, and I think we may have kind of missed our chance here, but I've shown on occasion, we've got a water lily here that a friend gave us, and it started to get, you can kind of see here, that bud, and it was sticking up out of the water for a few days. It never really opened up, but now it's kind of settling back down in the water. And there was another one over to the side that did the same thing, and then it came up and then it went back down without actually blooming. And I don't know what the story is on that, but I'm not at all an expert on water lilies. We're going to come back down here to the terrace in in a moment, but I want to come back up this way. But water lilies are beautiful things. You don't usually see them except in when there's obviously when there's water, but the typical garden doesn't have those. So I'm really interested in learning a bit more about those. Lots of daylilies back in here. Again, different varieties, lemon yellow, these brilliant red and yellow, peach colored, all kinds of varieties. Lamb's ear here, still blooming a little bit. They're just about finished. Although there's one here that's got a few of these little purple flowers on it. The lamb's ear, if you're watching for the first time, they're these mostly ground cover type plants that have a really neat texture, like a lamb's ear. This daylily's finished up, as is the right next to it, the snapdragon. But then here we have absolutely gorgeous Asiatic lilies with the speckled appearance. Daylilies here, more Asiatics getting ready to come out. Daisies, zinnias all through here, all kinds of different colors, pink, orange, yellow, red. Got some white, yellow, and then different shades as well. And then over here, of course, our big knockout rose, the blood red color. I always like talking about this plant because it's just shown to be so hardy. It was eaten down to the ground by beavers last summer, just about this time, and it came back and has done very well. Over in here, again, more daisies, and then up onto the trellis we have a mixture of jasmine, which are still blooming, and some clematis, and climbing roses. So if we come over here, we see actually a couple different types of rose. This big purple one, we don't get a lot of flowers off of that one. It's kind of lost in there amongst all the others. And actually now I'm looking way up here. We've got some climbing roses, probably 8, 9, maybe 10 feet tall. Just put out a few of these beautiful purple flowers. Most of what we've got here in terms of climbing roses are these tiny pink ones, and they come out by the thousands. And then of course the jasmine, you can kind of see some of the jasmine flowers still out. I kind of thought last week we were about done with those, but they're still going. Still have a few clematis up here. Those are Nellie Mosers, those pink and purple ones. We've got a variant of spiderwort here. I came out last week and we had some flowers on this. I don't usually see that. They tend to flower early in the morning. And then coming through here, we've got zinnias. We've got a lot of veronica. These tall purple flowers, as usual. They've got bees all over them. They really attract bees. Honeybees, like this one, and bumblebees. We have a lot more over in here. And then of course, more calla lilies, several different varieties. We've got the white, got kind of a peach color that's sort of washed out now. Dark red that's also starting to get kind of washed out. And then back in here, we have a nice pink rose that's sort of hidden from everything else. A maple tree growing up in the middle of everything that needs to be taken out. And various other things that will continue to bloom here and there. A nice calla lily here that's pink. This one just came up and just started to flower. This one has a nice purple color to it. We have about 5 or 6 different colors of calla lilies throughout the garden, and we're going to see a few more of those in a few minutes. Big butterfly bush here, again with the bright purple flowers. This one is huge. This is the biggest one we have, actually. We had a big one in the front yard. When it got this size, by last year, it was not putting out very many flowers, so I had to cut it way back, almost to the base. This one continues to be prolific in terms of flowering, so that's really nice to see. Here, more zinnias. These are all grown from seed on the back deck this year. A lot of balloon flowers. They've kind of peaked now. Not sure how much longer they'll bloom, but these came up from last year and extended. The plants themselves grew quite a bit, and we've got just some daisies that we bought earlier this year. Another group of really beautiful daylilies in here. A few black-eyed Susans back here. A little calla lily that's coming up. Hasn't flowered yet, but then we have our. We just have a little of everything. As I'm looking around, there's just so much to show off. Here we have, it's hard to see, these things get so top heavy, these gladiolas. And we've had a number of different colors, pink and white, we've had purple, we've had orange and yellow. Those were over in here. They're all done now. And what else do we have? This area is kind of done with the exception of this, well, I call it ice plant because it kind of looks icy, like it's frost on it, but it does put out these little yellow flowers every year. Not sure what it is. And then we have a bunch of clematis here. We had some knockout roses that gotten eaten down to the ground by animals. They've come back to a small extent, but right now they're in between blooming, so there's not much to see there. Some more glads over here. Again, they get really top heavy, and then you kind of lose sight of the flowers themselves. Spiderwort, those still are doing well, but lots and lots of clematis. I think next year is going to be a really good year for a lot of this stuff. This year was fantastic. This was the best spring that we ever had. This is a weeping cherry. This thing has grown significantly. I don't talk about it much because it only blooms for a short time in the spring, but you can kind of see the trunk back in there. It's about 6 or 7 inches in width now, and it's doing really well. Here is our biggest wisteria. For the most part done blooming, but it even after it blooms in May, for the next few weeks we get like 1 or 2 blooms a week until probably the end of the month. So that might end up being the very last one that we get, hard to say. But it's kind of nice to still have a few of those out. It's a nice reminder of spring. Thing I've always liked talking about with our wisteria is that the native ones that you see along the roads, and you see them everywhere down here in South Carolina, they're blooming usually in late March through about mid-April, and then the domestic ones that we have bloom a full month later. So from the very first ones to the very end sometimes is as much as 2.5 to 3 months, which is really cool. Here now, this is nice. I did not realize we had gotten to this point. I'm going to try to get over here. It's kind of hard working my way over through all of these plants. This is our canna. If you've seen our these videos before, I'm not a big fan of canna, at least not in our yard. But at the same time, they do, these light green ones do put out these beautiful tropical flowers. Not a lot of them for the number of plants that we have here. You can kind of see as I pan back. I mean, it's a lot of flowers. We don't get a lot of leaves. We don't get a ton of flowers, but the ones we do get are really pretty. Most of the ones that we see here in other people's yards are the dark colored ones, and then you get these red, again, very tropical looking flowers. This is the only one out of all these flowers. It's the only one that's bloomed so far. So I don't know if we'll get more. I think these tend to struggle in our yard because this is an area where the soil is not very fertile, and I think they struggle as a result. So not sure if that's something we're going to be able to resolve at any time in the near future, but you never know. sometimes I feel like this yard or this garden is big enough to hire a gardener, but I really don't want to do that. It's not, some of the fun is doing this yourself, but sometimes it does get a little overwhelming, especially with regard to maintenance of weeds and so forth. I've got another canna here that's about to bloom. So probably in the next couple of days, that'll come out with a nice big yellow flower. I was concerned earlier this year that our daylilies, these wild orange daylilies, would not do anything this year. The plants themselves don't look too robust, but they are finally blooming. It took a while. They were a little behind, but we're getting these nice double compound flowers, kind of a flower within a flower. So they're not exactly the same as the ones that you see along the road, but they're the same color for sure. Nice black-eyed Susan down in here. That's what all of these are. They're growing up out of the stones. These are all, or most of this is irises from the spring. Although we do have, as I look down in here, we have some more wild daylilies. And over here, same thing. If you look closely, these daylilies don't look real healthy. They're not robust. The leaves aren't real good. They look like they have some sort of either a nutritional deficiency or a parasite or something. Yet, despite that, they are putting out flowers, so that's good to see. And we have quite a few over in here, so all is well, even though I think they probably just need a nice dose of fertilizer, and I'll probably do that. It's a little late now, but do that maybe next year. Now, this area really is going to require some serious work, though, because one of the problems they're having is this area is getting overrun with weeds, in particular these Virginia creepers, and some other things that are really problematic. So we've got to get in there. Some of these things might even be poison ivy. It's hard to tell. Virginia creeper and poison ivy are kind of similar in appearance. Sometimes you have to be careful. And then I've got, actual maple trees growing up out of this. I had this bed looking really good by the end of March. Went through and it just really cleared out a lot of the weeds and so forth, and it looked pretty nice. We still had residual trash down here from the Hurricane Helene back in the end of September. And there, if you look closely, right there, we have one wisteria on this particular plant over here, just like we had one over on the other side. So we're going to come back over this way and head up to really what I would consider to be the high point of the backyard. And that is going to be this row here, which is primarily a mixture of daylilies and Asiatic lilies. So we're going to start actually with not either. We got roses in this area. These were just going crazy as of just a week ago, but they've kind of passed their prime, and unfortunately they're also getting eaten up by some of these Japanese beetles. So far I haven't seen a ton of Japanese beetles. I mean, they're scattered, but I've seen far worse in previous years. But if they seem to be an increasing problem, I'm going to get some 7 out here and just spray a lot of these plants to, or not spray, but powder these plants to really kind of take care of that. What else do we have? We've got a few Veronica here. They're not doing a lot. We don't have as many as we do further down, but our phlox are just starting to come out now, these pretty little pink flowers, and a few white ones. Got a couple more roses over here. Having a little trouble with black spot and parasites, but we do have a white rose over here that's just starting to bloom right now. Beautiful, beautiful blooms. And then right through here, we've got a nice mix of glads, this beautiful maroon gladiolus here. As I keep saying, these things get so top heavy, it's hard to really show them off. This one, another one of these maroon ones. It's just hard to get them to stay up, sadly, but it's just the nature of having glads. They're They tend to be more for cutting, but the problem I've always run into when you try to cut glads, they have a tendency to have ants on them, and then you've got ants in your house. So there's no win with those. You just kind of enjoy them where you can. Orange daylilies here, maroon here, smaller ones. It's interesting with this plant. All of them are fairly small, but it comes out in much larger numbers. Same thing with this one. It's sort of a mauve color, and then some more Asiatic lilies here. I mean, this particular one's huge. I mean, this is the size of an Easter lily, absolutely gigantic. And same thing over here. When you're talking about impact and just overall spectacular appearance, you just cannot beat lilies. So many different varieties. You've got these calla lilies, you've got daylilies, you've got these Asiatic lilies, stargazer lilies, so many different types. And every one of them is prettier than the next. You've got these dark purple calla lilies, white here, over here on this side, yellow. We've got some other colors a little further down. Back in here, you can kind of see at least one of our hostas is fully in bloom with the little purple flowers there. Lots and lots of weeds back in here, unfortunately. We do have some tomatoes that are growing. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, we started to have just huge numbers of tomatoes. We'd get several hundred actual tomato fruit by the end of the year. And then last year, we didn't get, they were coming back with seeds, and last year it didn't really happen. We had far fewer, and we're still getting some now, but not as many. I'm trying to hold this up so we can see it. I don't want it to just sit down in the grass. Nice lemon yellow daylilies here. Some more combinations here, some with ruffles, some not. Absolutely beautiful, but you can kind of see this one. It's got a big ant in the middle of it. Maroon and yellow. Peach here. More calla lilies, both dark pink and light pink, kind of hiding back in there. Another white one here. More of these gigantic lilies, and then some of our climbing roses, these little tiny pink ones. And kind of hiding under all of those, we still have kind of a reddish orange calla lily. There's just a ton of flowers in this area. The concentration is crazy. They've sort of kind of outgrown what we originally put in, and that was just about 3 years ago. This area has just gone crazy. And then there are weeds on top of that. We need to get in here and cut back weeds on a large scale. We've got a maple tree there, big weed there. I don't even know what it is. And then even this climbing rose needs to be cut back. It's kind of taking over this part of the garden, and I don't want it to do that because we've got so many other things in here that are so pretty, and they deserve their space as well. But at the same time, it's you get all of these buds from the climbing rose, and it's hard to cut them off because you're going to get these beautiful little pink flowers. Still have one coreopsis here. This is I think probably the last one. Bright yellow flowers that are typically May, mid-spring. And we come back to the top here. We got another hosta that's in bloom. Beautiful purple flowers, but that's basically about it for this week. So, you know what I skipped over entirely? This is the rest of our cleome bed. It's not supposed to be a cleome bed. This is just an area of stones that we put around the edge of our fire pit. But this is really where most of our cleome are now. This is what the area up there where all the morning glories are. This is what that looked like last year. It's the strangest thing. And now it's kind of moved its way down here, and there are many more coming up. So we're going to continue to get flowers and color down in that area for probably another couple months at least. So there we go. That's our garden for this week. We're going to do our front yard next. Hope it's sunny wherever you are, and Until next time, happy gardening.